Greetings everyone, welcome to Advance. This game was played in European Club Cup. With the white pieces, we have the current reigning world champion. We have Gukesh Dommaraju facing off against Sergei Movsesian, and this is going to be a really epic game. You're really going to enjoy this one. So without further ado, let's start with this game. Hey, knight to f3 by Gukesh. He goes for the ready opening. We have d5, g3, and just bishop to g4. This is the King's Indian attack. This is the curious variation. We have bishop to g2 and just knight to d7. Now just going for this h3, pushing the bishop back. We have bishop to h5, castles now, and just c6 in this position. And now just going for d3, knight g2 f6, and just c4, just challenging those pawns in the center. We have bishop caps on f3, just trading that bishop pair early on. E captures, and hey, just going for e6. E6 would have been a really nice move if that had it happened in this game. And after this f4, you play g6, knight to d2, bishop to g7, and after knight to f3, just castle in this position. b3, knight to e8. The game goes on after you move the rook out of the way, or you can also play this d4 in this position. Position would be absolutely fine, and most likely would be a more open kind of position where both players could have equal chances with white being better. But after e caps on f3, hey, we have g6, and now just going for f4, bishop to g7, knight to d2, and hey, just knight to c5, just challenging that weak backwards d3 pawn. And hey, knight to f3 was played, defending it. D caps on c4, but now just comes d captures, queen captures, rook captures, and knight after d7 was played, just making this bishop come alive on this diagonal. But hey, just going for bishop to e3 in this position, giving up the pawn. You could have also gone for a move like rook to b1 in this position, first not give up the pawn, and after a5 you play bishop to e3, attacking that knight, and after f5 here h4 will be played. But the thing is that you give black a little bit of a counterplay here. After a4 was played, we have knight to g5, and after bishop to f6, you play even b4. A captures, and after h6, pushing the knight away, first you play b4, and after h captures, b captures, g captures, and here after bishop captures, the thing is that white is doing splendidly fine because you do have the bishop paired. I mean, your rooks are really mightily aligned, and the king is still stuck in the center. You can castle, although here, but not right now because your knight would be hanging. But the thing is that the bishop pair is doing spectacularly well. Most likely here, Gukesh can convert this game to a win. But here after knight after d7, hey, bishop to e3 was played. Now just comes this bishop caps on b2. We have rook a to b1, bishop to f6 now, and now just going for this rook captures on d7, sacrificing the exchange here because the thing is that now you're getting good enough compensation positionally and actually materially as well. Knight caps on d7 was played, but now just comes even rook captures on b7, finally just grabbing that pawn. We have knight to b6 now, trying to just take away the squares and the retreat square from the rook. So now the rook is stuck here. Just knight to e5 was played. Now just going after this pawn and also going after it with the bishop. You cannot capture this. I mean, if you capture this, bishop caps on e5, but the thing is that I first play this bishop caps on c6, and after this king to d8, just f captures on e5. And the thing is that my position is really amazing. If you play rook to c8 now, attacking my bishop, just rook caps on a7. I don't care about my bishop. Rook caps on c6, bishop caps on b6 now, and if you go for rook caps on b6, I have rook to a8 check, king moves, rook captures. I'm so much up material here. You can see that it's 4 against 4 with 2 extra pawns. Anyone who's pushing for a win here would be definitely white. But after knight to e5, here castles was played, and now just comes this knight caps on c6, knight caps on c4, and we have bishop to c5, just challenging both of those pawns. If you move the rook out of the way, here just king to g7 was played. We have knight caps on e7, and here just going for this rook after d8, knight to d5 now, knight to d6, and just going for this rook to b1, rook a to c8, and just bishop caps on a7, finally grabbing that pawn. And here we have knight to f5. The move that you want to play in this position is actually rook to d7. It's a calm move, just attacking the piece. And here once the piece moves, now you go for this knight to c4, attacking that bishop, and here after this king to h2, nice prophylactic move with just getting the king out of the back ranks once you move the rook out of the way. And after rook to b7, just pinning this, all you want to do is just play rook to b3, and after rook c to b8, you play bishop to c5, asking for a trade. And if you go for this trade thinking that you've grabbed a pawn, the thing is that you're going to have to give back the exchange after knight captures on f6, king captures, and just going for this bishop to d5. There's no other way. You can go for knight to a5, or you can go for knight to d2. There is no other way to be able to try and defend. You don't want to go rook to c3. Your entire position would fall apart if you go rook to c3. because unfortunately your king just coincides in the same place where your rook is, and that would be really terrible. But after bishop caps on a7, hey, knight to f5 was played. But the thing is that this gives Gukesh advantage, and now he takes it. Bishop to b6 attacking the rook, rook to d6, and now just comes this knight caps on f6. We have king captures a4 now, and that pass pawn is going to be really pushed because you can see that the bishop pair is already guarding it. He's just going for rook to c2. Now just comes a5. We have rook to a2, but just bishop to f1, just preparing to stop that with the a6 as well, although bishop to b7 would have been really strong in this position instead of this bishop to f1, but still this works. He's just going for knight to d4, and now just comes king to g2, knight to c6, but knight to c6 was the blunder that gave Gukesh this game, because hey, the move that you want to play is knight to e6. And if you're wondering what is the difference, well, the thing is that after h4, now rook to a4, you don't have an easy way to be able to push the pawn, and now you cannot push it directly. If you push it directly, I mean, you're just basically just saying that after this, that the game is draw and you cannot do anything. If you push a6, then this comes h5. If you push even a7, the thing is that how are you going to defend? I mean, you're first gonna have to get out of the way and get the bishop here, but the thing is that then you lose control over this square. I can put some pressure on that bishop, and also I can just create some nuances for you, which is going to be really difficult to handle, as I mean, with actually pushing that pawn, and that would have been difficult. And here, if you, let's say you play bishop to e2, rook to d2 comes, bishop to b5 attacking the rook, rook to a3, rook to b4, and after this rook to a1, you play just bishop to c6, just keeping all of this alive, and that the pawn is pushing, and you think you can win in this position after pushing it all the way. But the thing is that here just comes h5, and after rook to a4, now you just play rook captures, bishop captures. It's not going to be easy, believe me. Even with the bishop pair, I can always, try to go for a drawish line, maybe, get the knight into the game, defend it that way, and it's going to be really easy for me to actually try and stop it. But after king to g2, hey, knight to c6 was played, but now just comes this a6, and the difference between this is here after knight to e7, just g4, and I can push those pawns all the way, and you cannot defend both at the same time. Here just knight to c8 was played, but now just comes bishop to c5 attacking the rook, rook caps on a6, finally grabbing that, but unfortunately you've given this up, given it up again in a really bad manner. But I don't even have to take it, because now what I have to do is play rook to b8 first. Where is the knight going? Here rook a to c6 was played, but now just comes rook captures on c8, sacrificing this in a beautiful manner, because here after rook captures, just bishop captures the rook, and now the thing is I have the bishop pair against the rook in an endgame where I have 4 against 3. It's just really difficult to hold this. Here king to e6 was played. Now it's only a matter of conversion. Here bishop to e5, we have f6, pushing the bishop back, bishop to d4, centralizing the bishop, rook to c1, bishop to e3, and now just going for rook to c3, rook bishop to d4 attacking it, rook to c1, f5 check, g captures, and now just going for g captures. And the thing is that you cannot capture this. If you capture this, then this comes, and then I just pick that up. So here just king to f7 was played, but now just comes bishop to e2, king to g7, h4, and here just going for rook to c2 attacking that base, and now here just going for king to f3, rook to a2, and just king to e3, rook to a8 now, and here just going for h5, h6, and here just pushing it back. All you got to do is maybe just get the king here, and just mount on that pawn, and it's just going to be very much difficult to try and stop that. Here rook to a5 was played, king to e4, rook to a8, king to d5, rook to d8 check, king to c5, rook to c8 check, king to bishop to c6 blocking, and after rook to d8 you play bishop to d5 first, again rook to c8 check, king to d6, and here rook to d8, but just king to e6. Now you don't have that many checks. Rook to e check was played, but now just comes king to d6, and you don't have any more checks. Here rook to e1 was played, now just coming and harassing the king from behind, but here just going for this bishop to e3, defending against everything. Rook to d1 again, but now just comes king to e6, rook to d3 now, but here just bishop to c5, rook to d1, f3 now, and you cannot give any more checks because I can just block in this position. But after rook to e1 check, that's exactly what happened. Rook to a1, bishop to d4 was played. Now that is threatened. What do you do in this position? Rook to a6 check was played, but now just comes king to e7, and it was on this move, on just move 63, that Sergei Movsesian resigned the game, because there is nothing more, because you can see all of these squares are covered. You cannot defend it at the same time and be at the same place, and you're gonna have to move. I'll just capture it, then I just push the pawn forward. It's gonna be a really brutal endgame, and yeah, you don't want to actually play this forward, and that's exactly what he did. He resigned the game, and Gukesh gets his first victory in the tournament splendidly, might I add. Really a beautiful game played by him.